This short clip provides an overview of the grants program and tips for application success. NEMICS offers small grants for 6 to 9 month projects that aim to impact consumer outcomes or experience at the public health services in our region. So the consumers targeted could be patients or carers or families. We provide up to $5,000 for scoping projects and up to $15,000 for service improvement and redesign projects. Service improvement projects aim to implement and evaluate quality improvement activities, and I guess they assume that the problems that you're trying to address are already well understood. So these service improvement projects aim to directly impact consumer outcomes or experience within the project timeframe of 6 to 9 months. Scoping projects are a little different. They aim to help define and understand problems with the intent of informing potential future quality improvement work. We recommend that applicants follow the grant application process outlined here and on the website. To first check eligibility, check whether your project is already within the remit of your health service and also whether it can be delivered within existing resources. If the project is not within the remit of the health service and you don't have resources to deliver it, it may well be eligible. Talk with your manager about this and check what level of executive support there is for your project idea. Consider whether your project fits well with your local cancer service improvement plan and also with NEMICS strategic directions. It's a good idea to talk with NEMICS early, just to clarify eligibility and assist in deciding whether the scope of the project is deliverable within resources and within timeframes. As these grants aim to impact consumer experience or outcomes, we ask that you run your idea by a consumer or preferably consumers to hear their thoughts about the problem you want to address and how best to go about addressing the problem. Applicants are asked to submit an application and a short lay summary. The lay summary can be up to a maximum of 1 page. And the purpose of the lay summary is to describe the project to consumers. Application forms and templates for lay summaries can be found on the NEMICS website. And if you're planning a redesign project and your health service requires you to use redesign templates for your project, please talk with us before applying and we'll try to help you streamline the application processes and reduce any duplication of documentation. So once you get started with an application, it's worth allocating quite a bit of time to defining the problem that you aim to address, particularly if you're wanting to apply for a service improvement grant rather than a scoping grant. We tend to find that applications for service improvement grants that do not articulate a defined problem don't score so well when the panel reviews them. If you have identified a problem that is not well understood and you need more time or resources to define the problem, it's probably best to go with applying for a scoping grant. When you apply, tell us how you know you have a problem, what the problem is, and what factors contribute to the problem. Try to cite evidence rather than opinion here. Think about whether you need to consider local factors that impact the problem, as well as evidence in the literature that there's a problem. Sometimes the process of asking why up to 5 times can help to drill down to the root cause of a problem. For redesign project applications, it's acknowledged that further problem definition will continue as part of the redesign process that you're undertaking. Writing your application. These are relatively small grants and it's not expected that your application is very detailed or lengthy. Short responses that address each section are fine. It is important though, as said before, to clearly communicate what you know about the problem that you aim to address. As these grants aim to impact consumer outcomes or experience, it's really important to contextualise your problem, aims and outcomes in terms of what they will mean for patients, carers or families. Try to avoid framing your problem in terms of how it impacts the health service or health professionals. So really try and sell the importance of your planned project or of the lessons of your project for consumers. Your application will be scored for its logic. Do your aims, or what you're trying to achieve, relate to the problem you've described? Does it make sense that your method, or how you plan to go about achieving it, will achieve the desired result? And do your outcomes and evaluation plan flow on logically from your aims? It helps to be clear about project outputs versus project outcomes. So outputs include resources that you will create. So for example, you might create a patient information booklet, whereas outcomes refer to the impact of these outputs. So for example, the impact of a patient information booklet may have an outcome of improved patient understanding of a particular issue and improved ability to give informed consent. So usually outcomes can read a little bit like aims, but just worded a bit differently. Most people find it easier to write the lay summary after you've already written the application. And sometimes it's helpful to ask someone who does not work in your area to read the lay summary and application for clarity and ease of understanding. And this is probably particularly the case if you work in a fairly technical area of cancer care. We have a two-step grants evaluation process. So firstly, the NEMICS consumer group and other affiliated consumers will rate the lay summary for each application. The lay summary really just outlines the project with a focus on its predicted impact on consumer outcomes or experience, and obviously uses plain English. Each consumer assigns a score out of 7 and an average group score is calculated, and these consumer impact scores are communicated to the grants panel with a recommendation that projects that score lower than 4 out of 7 are not funded. The NEMICS Grants panel comprises health service and quality and project representatives, and the panel then assigns a formal rating score out of 25 for each application we receive. You can see this information here in the guidelines for the grants on our website, but this just gives you a sense of what criteria the panel use when they will review your application. So really, once eligibility criteria are met, the panel are focused on the logic of your project outline and also the likelihood of delivering your outcomes, the deliverables that you nominate within the timeframes and resources. But they too will allocate up to 5 points for the impact of the project outcomes for consumers, and as well as the service. So if you're thinking of applying for a grant, please do not hesitate to contact NEMICS early to talk informally. The grants guidelines form contains contact details of our staff at each health service. You can also contact the grants program project officer at any time throughout the year to talk about potential project ideas. And if you'd like to know what sort of factors consumers might consider when they rate the impact of projects for consumer outcomes or experience, there is a summary of this as well on the NEMICS website. So good luck with your applications, and thanks for your interest in improving cancer care in the NEMICS region.